Hey girly, how have
Hey,
you been? What's new?
don't ask me that till the end of the semester, please, because
We're almost
I'm
there.
not sure,
2 weeks,
Yeah,
almost there.
almost there. I'm very excited. I don't want to check in with myself until it's over because I'm not sure
But there's
yet.
no break. There's no break.
There's no break. We're going right into it, right?
Straight into summer
Well,
session.
I'm more curious about what's going on with you lately because I know it's day what of eating? Day what
It's
if there's food at the crib?
it's day 23
Okay,
of eating at home.
okay,
It's been a struggle.
okay.
Trying to save a little dollar, trying to eat healthier. Um,
What do you
yeah,
miss the most?
I think the convenience. So I have to go to the grocery store. I have to plan what I'm going to eat. When I wake up late, I still have to try to pack breakfast, lunch, snacks, um, the dishes. So I don't know if it's worth saving a dollar for me not having convenience.
Let's talk about that though, because I'm still trying to figure out something real quick. Maybe you can help me out. I don't know if they tried to save a dollar, if they didn't save enough dollars. Have you heard about Red Lobster lately?
So I did.
Talk
I've
to me
never
about it.
been, never been,
Whoa,
but
never one time. Not even
I've
after
had
like
their
our middle school
biscuits from the
dance.
grocery store. So maybe I have been indirectly.
Okay.
I went without going. But yeah, so isn't it about their endless shrimp deal that is causing them to go into
Absolutely.
bankruptcy?
So they actually at a quarterly loss of 11 million are now contemplating a chapter 11 bankruptcy. And it's kind of fascinating because it's being on the other side of that. We always like we want that to last just forever. I mean, you want to go somewhere, get endless anything for $20. Everything is like it costs about that to breathe these days. So I'm like, yeah, let's do that.
Mm-hmm.
But they did it to a point where their biggest manufacturer, their biggest supplier of seafood, is now kind of strategizing an exit because has no longer like a sustainable thing. On top of that, they also have handed over their leadership to a CEO that specializes in kind of trying to
Yeah,
shift out of that bankruptcy
and
mode.
help with the debt.
So I think it's serious. It's a serious thing. You were talking about convenience and you were talking about saving a dollar. I think that's really what Red Lobster has come to signify, like over their legacy, because they've always been like an affordable option for seafood. And I know that like seafood itself tends to have a higher price point because of, several
Mm-hmm.
different competing factors. And Red Lobster was always kind of an accessible option for blue collar families. And that's being threatened right now. And I'm not sure how I feel about it because I think it's, I'm not sure how sustainable that model is going to be as we kind of are in the middle of this in like inflation extravaganza right now. But I also think that it signals so much more than that with like the dining industry as a whole.
Yeah, I think that, even a few years ago, people would dine out for the experience. I remember my mom and I, we would go to Applebee's, and it wasn't necessarily about the quality of food. It was like my mom and I are out on the town.
Right,
It's a Friday. You get the 2 for $20. You get
right.
the appetizer with two entrees. It was a great deal. But then now I think people are questioning, is it worth it? What has changed in these dining experiences that it's beyond just the same food? People want more of an experience. And then if they're not getting an experience, they want the convenience. They want, Uber Eats or DoorDash to kind of just drop off the food. You are at your home in your own, comfort. So I think people go out, to dine in for special occasions. And if it's just something that they already know, it's like, why am I going to spend a pretty penny on something that seems mediocre overall?
Well, that's the thing for me now with this whole thing because, yeah, it could be the convenience, the experience, but the notion of the value of it is being challenged, I feel like. Not just because they're facing this bankruptcy, but also even eating at home is kind of expensive these days, right? I mean,
Most
like the
definitely.
experience now is like I don't have to leave my house and socialize.
Mhm.
Yeah, like if the prices are kind of comparable, like you're gonna maybe stay home over doing the whole thing.
But then it's also like, how good is the endless shrimp deal when it's on a per person basis, it's not per table. And then
True.
it's only shrimp, that's not including the sides.
That's
So
true.
it's one of those things that I think it was a promotion to really get people in the door. And then from there, kind of just hoping people would spend their money on other things as well. We've talked about the whole thing with Costco
Yes.
and the rotisserie chicken. I remember you talking about that it's, a loss leader in that
Yeah.
the company doesn't mind taking a loss on their profits of the rotisserie chicken, knowing that people are not going to leave just spending $5 on that trip. They're going to pick
Yeah.
up the sides, they're going to pick up other things because it's convenient for them while they're there.
And by the way, statistically, according to like the floor plans of most Costco's, you actually have to walk through about 60% of the store to even get to the chicken. And it is kind of like situated by like sides, things that go good
Yeah.
with chicken. But I will say one thing to your point. First of all, I love the whole concept of this Costco chicken thing. It's actually legendary. Um, for those that are uninitiated, for 20 years, Costco's chicken has been sold for $4.99. I
I love
believe.
the consistency.
Oh, well, actually, that's actually what I'm getting at.
Hmm.
Because the only time in those 20 years that they have raised the price was during the '08 financial crisis. Meanwhile, last year, 2023, when Red Lobster started to kind of realize that they were in big trouble in the first quarter with that, I think on average, I may or may not have mentioned it was on average $11 million loss.
Hmm.
So in the ballpark, is somewhere in the 40s, $40 million loss. But when they did that, it was a $20 deal, right? Started to scramble a little bit. $22. Then by I think they waited till the third quarter to raise it to 25, and then they said, okay, 25
For nationally.
for on a
Hmm.
national basis. So not just that, I don't know if this makes sense, but having all of that movement, I think did more damage than good.
Hmm.
I think that at that point in the game, because here's really what it is. It was two contributing factors. One, once you stick with the price, just do that for the sake of brand integrity, for the brand image. Because
Hmm.
as Red Lobster, as a trusted name in seafood purveyance or whatever, and especially because they cater to blue collar families, just pick a price, because those few dollars do affect their particular
But I think
people
it's
they're selling
also
to.
that they extended the promotion
Thank you.
beyond the
Thank you.
time. It was
That's where I
supposed to
was
be a
going.
limited promotion, but then it was
Exactly.
like, oh no, let's just keep it
Let's just
as
have
permanent.
shrimp all the time. Shrimpapalooza. Guys, first of all, that's like saying let's just have the holidays all year round, which I would love. But it's kind of like if every day was a party, like I'm just tired thinking about that. And I kind
Mm.
of feel like it's the same thing, not just for people, because people can't do endless shrimp all the time. I feel like having that kind of promotional, that cyclical approach
It
to
would be like a
promotion.
motivation to come in during
Yeah,
that
like
time and
we
then
know when
go
Lobster Fest is, whatever, and then we go. And I feel like it's giving like Shark Week, but like for
forever,
restaurants,
forever.
we know when it's coming. We all get ready for it. So not just the fluctuation, but taking away the seasonality of it, it feels like a business that's unsure about what they're doing, and I think that makes people nervous.
But I think it was also the company already being in turmoil before this promotion, using this promotion as a means to get some money in, help profits,
Yeah.
but then kind of extending it lost its value of, oh, this is an exciting time. Let me go in during this. And they didn't, I don't think they actually did the finances correctly to see, oh, is this actually profitable based off of how much shrimp costs and how much people are generally eating when they're ordering endless shrimp.
I mean, because if you're gonna have it all the time, I'm gonna plan to just go and eat just shrimp. Like I'm not gonna bother with the rest of the menu. But if it's like I'm going there because I know it's
No
a
sides.
limited promotion,
Just shrimp.
them cheddar biscuits. No, because like some people, that are students, they might just go and here's my little creative take. Get a little cheddar biscuit, cut it in half, make a little
little sandwich.
There it is. No sides. So I think it gives people too much time to strategize how they're going to get the most bang for their buck, because right now that's what it's about. If there's too many competing factors, first of all, the eating at home, then there's the price of groceries. I mean, I don't know. When all things are kind of factored in, you got to make it almost sound better than that. And if it was going to be 25, it should have just been 25.
Mm. But I think it's also like the indirect competitors of um the role of DoorDash and Uber Eats is playing
Yes.
into the, I guess, the eating experience. I know for me personally, when it's winter time, I'm like, I'm hibernating. I'll save my coins for the summertime and I'll be out and about during that time. So I rather just honestly take my food to go. And I don't think people see places like Olive Garden and Red Lobster, Applebee's and Chili's as a place like, oh, let me order and eat, take it to go. It's
True.
one of those things that you're either eating in or you're not eating there at all, you know?
And not for nothing, like tipping culture is so out of control. So I feel like that's another
Yeah.
barrier.
Because it's
Like,
not just the cost of the endless shrimp that you're paying for. It's,
yeah.
if you get anything else, then the tip, and then you're like, is it really a deal at that point?
Let's talk a little bit about the shrimp. So, standardizing it nationally. I think there were some oversights in like a kind of the logistical situation, because obviously if you're in the Midwest, you're not by any type of,
Waters.
you know, and that's going to take time. It's going to take people to, make that come together. And if you're in a state, it's two things, right? It's like that part. And then there's also the fact that if we have a standard rate for something in a place, if people are being subjected to standard national standard rate in places where, say, minimum wage is not keeping up with that,
Hmm.
now you got all this shrimp in the freezer and you got nobody to eat it, because really, like, what's going on in today's day and age? I mean, a dollar is a dollar, right? We know the value of it, but more than ever, the difference between 20 and $25, we see now that it's it's at the detriment of this decades long legacy.
And that goes hand in hand with the price sensitivity that, you had mentioned to me, before this, that Costco tried to raise their prices and they saw a huge downfall
Yeah.
of, people getting the rotisserie chicken because the
Yeah.
price went up. So it just shows how certain groups of people that you're targeting are more price sensitive to even $1.50 or even 50 cents. You know.
Well, remember, this was during the financial crisis. So,
Mhm.
from both sides, from the consumer's perspective, I don't even have that dollar, maybe, but also from their perspective, like, they don't want to tank. And it's kind of that they're actually just a great example of how well the brand image was handled, because they understood that that dollar was going to turn into many more if they did not honor um, their customers' kind of willingness to
I just think
participate in that,
that was shown in the short term though, because I think
True.
in the long term, when people really compare their options of fast food or dining out, they're like, oh, even if the Costco prices for the rotisserie chicken went up, it's still relatively cheaper than other things. We've
True.
seen with the dollar store that has gone up and it's no longer a dollar, but people are still going to the dollar store because compared to the other options, it's still cheaper than going to Target or Walmart or other things like that. So I think in the short term, it may be, affected in the sense that people are like, oh no, I'm not doing this anymore. But when you really compare overall prices, it's still going to be cheaper.
I mean, I agree. I also do want to mention on the tail end of that, um, that, I was kind of making this comparison as if we're so far away from that place, but we kind of are in a financial crisis. Like, we're
Mhm.
living in a post pandemic world where just things completely went out of control. And I remember even at a point where, like, before the inflation train kind of really got chugging, what I heard the term like price gouging going around a lot,
Mhm.
because people were trying to recoup their losses and things like that. And now it's just like rampant. So I feel like people don't know where the line is, and people are kind of trying to walk that line between providing that value and also making sure that they meet
Mhm.
their fiscal targets. You know what I mean? Um I don't know. For me, it's kind of like a romantic perspective, But I just feel like this is kind of one of those things that is signaling the death of the American dream kind of thing, because I think people that have enough money to be out of touch enough to say things like, "Well, just stop eating out and stuff," don't
Mhm.
understand like the social implication of things. And that does affect the economy on a larger scale. Like,
But I think it's also pushing, especially restaurants to challenge what they sell. You're selling
mm,
food, but I think people want more than that,
yeah,
and it's like, what have you really changed to your business model and improving it in the last 20 years?
that's a great point.
It's just all the same.
That's a great
And
point.
I think post COVID, people are really questioning how they're spending their dollars. You can either pay for convenience and Uber Eats and DoorDash your food, or you're like, oh, you know what? Let me just eat at home and save for my experiences of vacations or things that are going to actually fulfill me a little bit more than, some of these mediocre restaurants in general.
The way that even like McDonald's is priced right now, I may as well just skip it 4 times and then go to
It's crazy.
go to
So it's
some other
crazy to
country and go
think
eat their food. Like,
that Applebee's would be giving two for 20 and you get
the
basically
whole
the
gamut.
appetizer and two
Yeah.
entrees, and now $20 at McDonald's doesn't even take you anywhere. And you're not even, being served by a waiter and having that experience of sitting down and, kind of feeling catered to in a
And
sense.
then the fact that, you were speaking about the quality. I mean, the quality is just not what it was when it was less. And I feel like people are just having a hard time keeping up with paying more
And
for an
it's
experience that's
also
not delivering.
interesting thinking about how a lot of these chains, they have their food in the grocery stores. So, if you think about it, you could find TGI Fridays
You're so
wings
right.
in the freezer
You're
aisle.
so
You can
right.
find Panera at, your grocery store. So it's really like, do I need to go to that place to get the TGI Fridays wings?
Yeah, you're right. And that's actually the thing that Red Lobster wouldn't be able to sell, because like just shrimp. No one's gonna buy just shrimp that's Red Lobster at the
Red
grocery
Lobster
store.
branded.
You know what I'm saying? Like, they're
Maybe
not.
the seasonings.
That could be another way to
They
supplement
did it with their
their.
biscuits.
Yeah, that's a really. Take no, Red Lobster. This one might save you here. This one might save you the whole thing. I think what's interesting about I'm gonna just pivot like in the sense that, okay, Costco and Red Lobster, cool, but I want to bring Olive Garden into this, which
Basically the same.
don't, yeah. First of all, I don't think Red Lobster is under Darden anymore, but it was I forget his name, but I know his last name was Darden. It's under this Darden umbrella, under which exists Olive Garden and a couple other partners. I don't want to misspeak. But I also find it interesting that Red Lobster Inns started as a family restaurant, and these kind of approaches to value are what kind of gave birth to these other business models that are like, come eat whatever you can and get on out of here.
Mhm.
The only problem is with Olive Garden, the price points are so much like, it's kind of almost the same price point, but like the margins are so much wider because like, I
It's
mean,
pasta.
it's pasta. Yeah. And it takes a lot to get me to go out and pay for pasta. Like, you know what I mean? But it's like
But
it
even they
gave
have
birth
like
to
an all
that.
you can eat pasta bowl,
Yeah, pasta,
type
soup,
of.
and salad. But that works for those margins.
Mm.
With seafood, it's a little iffier. And if you don't figure that out going into it, while also subjecting everyone across the country to basically, you expose yourself for not doing the math all the way. And if you couldn't do it, you should have just kept it what it was, because it's the money and the brand image. The money can't even really exist without that thing. And because Red Lobster has been around for so long, there are certain expectations. I think what it's going to take to save Red Lobster is going to, first of all, you're so right about the lack of innovation, but I don't think they've been challenged to do that in a long time. First of all, there's the appeal of the deal, right? There's your target segment, which are blue collar families. If you lose that entry point
Hmm.
for people in that, uh I don't want to say tax bracket, but people like, you know in this
If
particular
you like
class.
raise prices too much, you're losing your initial target
You
market
are,
type.
but then what does that mean for Red Lobster if it doesn't close? Are you now going to appeal to who
But
are you going
even
to
then,
appeal to?
it's like you can still improve, relatively keep your same tax bracket, your same target market, I guess, you know, but what improvements have you made with all the profits that you were making before if everything was the same? You know, like
Endless crab legs were 20.99 in 2003.
they didn't learn the first time.
So maybe it was working, but like, I think it's maybe a lack of awareness of how things are kind of proliferating as the world becomes ever increasingly digital. There's all types of free everything on these little apps. If you download our app, you get a free chicken nugget, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they can afford that being where they are. I don't know if they can survive in this world,
Mm-hmm.
like how it's kind of going now because of all that you have to do, even just to remain relevant. I mean, it is all
And
about the.
loyalty isn't the same with these
And by the
restaurants.
way, if the restaurant ain't Instagrammable,
Yeah.
they're not
The
gonna go.
experience,
They're not
that's
gonna, yeah, like they're not gonna go because now we have social capital. It's more than just the money. Um, but they certainly should have paid more attention to theirs.
so I think this is why like this month of me being more conscious of what I'm eating, where I'm eating, how much I'm spending on eating out, I have more of a focus on eating out as a here and there type of thing rather than, oh, I'm running late or I didn't plan ahead of time. Just being more conscious of what I want to spend my money on when I do choose to eat out. And um, yeah, just I think being overall more mindful of that. And, you know, sometimes it's nice to have one of those like Chipotle meals and keep it going. But overall, I don't see myself really going to dine in places like Applebee's or, you know, it's just like there's nothing that I can't get at the grocery store from the freezer aisle that, you know, would do the same thing and cost a third of it. And if I do go out to eat, I want more of an experience of, oh, there's a nice view or there's great customer service. You know, there's something special to that experience beyond,
Give me a
you know,
reason to put out the outfit on.
and the quality of food is definitely there as well.
Absolutely.
So
You said here and there. I wish Red Lobster would have thought about that before making endless shrimp year round.
I took it away. Took that need away because it was always there.
Yeah.
And now they took it out completely.
Now they took it out completely. So now we back to Red Lobster. Come to the front, please. I just want to talk to you for a second.
So, based off our discussion, what do you think are the major takeaways from Red Lobster filing for bankruptcy?
I think this is kind of evidence of a larger kind of shift where, like you said, we're wanting more from institutions in general, like just the human experience. I don't know if it's because of COVID. I don't know if it's because it's just so expensive to live, but people want more than they've
Mm-hmm.
had. And I think that it's because people are also and I think this part is COVID related, just coming out of it. We realized how kind of nefarious general business practices really were with like, first of all, just labeling people essential and non-essential. I mean, I get what they're trying to do with that, but it's like I'm trying to explain that like business is different now. People want their businesses to be responsible. They want them to be sensitive to our needs. They want to be entertained by
Mm-hmm.
businesses.
And
You
now the
know,
food is just the bare minimum at
and
the
now the
point.
food, yeah, food is kind of just like um I think the food just got us to like zero now. It's not enough. And now we are being kind of faced with the extinction of a lot of heavy hitters because we just are not we kind of put our foot down because again like it's kind of comparable like eating out and eating at home, and if you can save tipping somebody going out, save the gas because those prices are out of
Yeah.
control too. If we can, it's almost like taking back control of our dollar. And I think that is something that we haven't really seen in the American financial landscape, because what I mostly kind of think about when I think about just America and the dollar is the American dream and keeping up with the Joneses. And I think they're even eating at home these days. So um, we're gonna need more and for less, and it's got to be good. We have a saying in Brazil: "Bom, bonito, e barato." Good, pretty, and cheap. That's what we like. And if we can't have that, we're gonna keep going because you know you just can't beat a home cooked meal where we're from. So maybe maybe the U.S. is coming around to some of those uh, kind of
Same values.
those same values. Yeah. What do you think? Like, what's I wanna get behind your eyes with this one. What is it?
So I think the first takeaway would be the focus on businesses trying to get customers in the door. A lot of businesses are partnering with Amazon and trying to get customers just to come into their store, that foot traffic. So either quick check with Amazon lockers, and it's like, oh, okay, now I'm at quick check. Let me get me a soda. Let me get this, while I'm here. Or the same thing with Kohl's and Amazon trying to get, those returns, but it's also on the other side of the store. So you have to go all through Kohl's in order to be able to do that. Yeah, I think the second one would be generally, as you mentioned, the experience. Food is just like a thing that I think as adults, as me personally, that you realize how much you're eating and you're like 3 meals a day and then
Every
7 days.
day?
So I think it's being more mindful of when do you want to eat out, where you want to eat out, and having those options. And then just being like, I want to spend my money a little bit more wisely when it comes to my experiences. And when we're all attached digitally through our phones, it becomes like you need to do more when you're eating out to disconnect from your phones and have that interaction where it's like, oh, this was worth it. I had fun. So I think those places that I used to go when I was younger with my mom, it wasn't necessarily like I had to disconnect in order to engage. I think people need more interaction, more entertainment to actually be like present in those moments. So I think there becomes a challenge from restaurants to really find more of what customers are looking for and entertaining them away in a way that they want to really disconnect from their phones and be more present in that moment. Like Dave and Buster's, just having like, okay,
Mm.
arcade area, and then you can eat something like that that feels like I'm really getting more from this than just basic, you know, greasy food, I guess.
Because I could do that at home. If you'd like to watch more episodes of The Human Side of Business and check out all of our other amazing content, follow us on all platforms at Montclair_Feliciano.
And that's a wrap.